Kia ora koutou, Markie here. And the reason you can't see me and you've got these pretty fireworks to look at is I am in my pants. I've got home, I've got kind of out of my smart clothes, not that I'm ever in any particularly smart clothes, and I'm kind of ready to chill for the evening. And then I remembered that I wanted to do a video about bonfire night. What normal people would probably do is kind of scrub up and prepare a video. What I do is switch the lights off and just show you a picture of some fireworks from a video on off the internet. That's pathological demand avoidance syndrome for you, and I've done another video on that. So what I want to talk about is, this is kind of interesting. Not many people think about this at all. But this is kind of a little kind of ranty-poos, really, that people should not, in my humble opinion, refer to bonfire night as Guy Fawkes night. Why? Because that's the tradition. Isn't it all about Guy Fawkes? No. If you watch my video about Halloween, you'll see that this whole time of year goes back to Celtic fire festivals. And so bonfires would have been held in most probably European places, and certainly kind of the Celtic fringes. And so bonfire night, or having bonfires at this time of year, was a well-established tradition before Guy Fawkes came along. Okay, so the history bit, okay. So Guy Fawkes tried to blow up Parliament, which we've all probably wanted to do at one time or another, but and got caught in the process and horribly tortured. I think King James personally, if I remember this correctly, personally asked that he be tortured for at least a month before he was executed. Now, basically, this was terrorism. This was a time when Catholicism in England was illegal, and Catholics were regarded with the greatest of suspicion. So bonfire night was hijacked as a political anti-Catholic propaganda, really. So bonfires were happening anyway, but they said, right, we're going to kind of call it Guy Fawkes night, and from now on we're going to burn the effigy of Guy Fawkes. So the guy that you throw on the fire is the image of Guy Fawkes. Now, I'm not condoning terrorists. The reason he was blowing up Parliament was he wanted to kill the king, because the king was opening Parliament and the king was anti-Catholic. The British history, very complicated in terms of Catholicism. So basically, just to give it a context, England was a Catholic country under Henry VIII. Henry VIII was a very good Catholic, and actually the Pope called him Defender of the Faith because he was such a good Catholic. But then Henry VIII fell out with the Pope because the Pope wouldn't give him the divorce that he wanted. But also, I think it was more to do with money. The abbeys at the time were really rich. There's massive amounts of wealth in the abbeys, and a lot of money was being filtered away to Rome. So the economy was kind of, of all the European, countries, all the, lots of wealth was kind of finding its way back to Rome. So, being the head of a realm, he thought, hang on a minute, I could have all that. So he created the Church of England, which initially was pretty much a kind of like a Catholic church, but just a splinter Catholic church. Later on, the Church of England incorporated some more Protestant ideas, but essentially the Church of England is still a very kind of very much on Catholic lines, really, and some people would say that it's not actually fair to talk about Anglicanism and the Church of England as Protestant at all. Anyway, so after that, there was a whole kind of crazy succession of monarchs who were pro-Catholic, who persecuted the Protestants, and then you get a monarch that was Protestant and persecute the Catholics, and people were being burned at the stake. And it's a myth that witches in the UK were burned at the stake. Witches were hanged, but heretics were burned at the stake. So the people that were burned at the stake were, depending on the time and who you were. If you were a Catholic, you could be burnt at the stake, and if you were a Protestant, you could be burnt at the stake. So it's a kind of a whole wave. And then what happened really was that Catholics became regarded with great suspicion because, oh no, oh look, I've come to the end of the thing. This is just a crap video, isn't it? Really, I'm gonna persist with this though, because it's my last chance to do one before bonfire night is over. Now we're coming into something. Oh, we're gonna get more fireworks. Okay, that's all right. So I haven't thought this through. So. So for a long time, so eventually kind of things kind of stabilised more in favour of Protestantism. Protestantism became more established in the country, and Catholics were regarded with great suspicion, and it was illegal. And that's why a lot of very old houses have concealed rooms, which are known as priest holes, because Catholics would conceal priests if anyone came along. They would keep a priest in their house, so they could have mass, and they would, if anybody came to the door, the priest would hide in this concealed room called the priest hole. Excuse me. So, although Guy Fawkes was a terrorist, and we don't condone that, and it's not a good thing to blow up Parliament, try and kill the king, he was doing it because he would say he was a religious freedom fighter. So we got religious wars, and it's very much a parallel, really. The whole Catholic Protestant thing. From the 1500s onwards, for quite some time, was very much like the Islamophobia that's going on today. So there is terrorism, but the Islamophobia is far more widespread than the actual terrorism. And then you get kind of and then you get kind of terrorism against Islam, like the terrible atrocity that happened in Christchurch not so long ago. So what I'm kind of saying here really is, for lots of reasons, let's call it bonfire night, because bonfire night goes back further. And I really like the old traditions. I like the idea of going back to the old kind of Celtic and pagan ways. So I think it should be bonfire night, and the bonfires were all to do with lights, fire festival, lights guiding the souls of the ancestors back home, all those kinds of things, which I think is a fine tradition. I think celebrating the execution of terrorists is it's not very nice really. So I don't think we should call it Guy Fawkes. I think we should call it bonfire night. There we go. So a long, rambling, badly executed, last-minute video on bonfire night, which you don't care about, because all you care about is going out and enjoying yourself and watching the fireworks, which you should be doing now, really, if you've got any sense, rather than sitting at home watching videos from idiotic walruses like me. If you have watched this, thank you for your patience and forbearance. I hope you have found it interesting. I think it's interesting. What's behind these things, and what I promise is that by next year, for next bonfire night, I will do a much tidier video. And for the people who have randomly selected off YouTube firework videos, thank you. If you recognise your work in this, please don't sue me. I'll be quite happy to give you full credit. Thank you for saving the world from the experience of seeing me in my pants. And I think we'll leave it there. Rangi on that note, Rangi Marie, and enjoy bonfire night.